Hello, everybody. I am so happy to be here again with Dr. Vikki. And if any of you have seen our two previous shows talking about IBS and other issues, Dr. Vikki is a wealth of information, and she's the owner and clinic director at Root Cause Medical in Saratoga, California. I'm Renee Lynn, and I am from Reformation Body Solutions in Los Gatos, California. So we're in neighboring cities. And Dr. Vikki, how are you today?
Oh, I'm great. Thank you so much for having me. It's always such a pleasure to speak to your friends and group and just share knowledge. I was at a Silicon Valley Corporation earlier today for a lunch and learn, and this data has to be shared, and so many people just don't know there's options to their health. And so thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Oh, I love it, because my clients are, I have a wealth of clients that come to see me all the time, and some clients are healthy and we just need to lose weight, but the majority of my clients have some issues that really need clearing up, and this information is so helpful. So today we're going to be talking about a few different things about digestion. And one of the things that I did recently is I did the Heidelberg stomach acid test and realized that it takes my stomach 63 minutes to actually kick in, which is way too long. So I've been working with my own naturopathic doctor to help me learn how to use hydrochloric acid with pepsin, Dr. Vikki, is there just like a certain time in life where our stomach acid kind of goes south, or is it just because I've had leaky gut before? Or give us kind of the lowdown.
Yeah, it's really a combination. There is some truth to be said that as we age, we'll start making a little bit less hydrochloric acid, and being aware of that is critical because it's the beginning of digestion. The mouth chews up the food, but really we don't chew very well and we eat too fast. And so the stomach is really that first location, and it is supposed to be a bag of acid to really break down the food efficiently before it then goes off to the small intestine for absorption. And not enough acid is very common. And yes, as we get older, we tend to make less, but as you said, leaky gut or just a bad diet. And that's the problem, is that really not having this ultra processed food that we have, and the high sugar and the chemicals and the GMO, and so many things that are just really foreign to how the body is designed to function, is really creating issues. So the natural mechanisms of how the body works are being suppressed, and unfortunately you can get things like H. pylori, Helicobacter pylori, which is bacteria infection in the stomach, and it's very insidious because it creates the symptoms of acid reflux or heartburn, but at the same time the bacteria over time can destroy those actual cells in the stomach designed to make acid. So you're feeling like you have too much, but underneath it's destroying those cells. So finding that infection is important, and even conventional medicine these days, we've been looking for it 15, 20 years, but now conventional medicine does look for it, which is good. But the thing is, getting a treatment for it, taking antibiotics, handles it at the moment, but it doesn't get to the root of why your immune system missed it in the first place. And I think too often it's treated as, patients will say, I had H. pylori, I got it treated, like you can never get it again, which is not the case. You can definitely get it over and over. It's really about, it's identified, your immune system didn't catch it. Now what can we do to increase that immune system so you're not going to keep getting infections? So it really starts in that stomach, and what are you eating? And is the food acting more like a toxin or more like fuel and nourishment? And so it really begins right there.
So when someone eats a meal, and by the way, if you guys are on here and you have questions for Dr. Vikki, please put them in the comments section. We're only going to be on for about 30 little right around there. I try to wrap it up at 30 minutes. So tell us where you're from, let Dr. Vikki know your questions. And even if you're watching this in the replay, be sure to put your questions in, because I always let Dr. Vikki know so that she can answer your questions. And if you would like a regular newsletter, all you have to do is type in info, and you will get in your messenger, you will get a little note for you to sign up to. You can reach Dr. Vikki. There's a link for her website. You can follow her on Facebook, and also you can get our weekly newsletter. So just a little housekeeping there. So Dr. Vikki, tell me, so when you feel bloated after a meal, what is that a sign of?
Very good question, because there's a lot of that going around. Certainly, it can mean that what you ate, the body had trouble digesting, either because you're having a food reaction to it. Gluten and dairy are really common in that regard. A very refined diet. So once again, it's not acting as a good fuel for your body. But not enough hydrochloric acid, it's a sign of that. It can also be not enough pancreatic enzymes. There is one other thing I really want to touch upon, especially for women, not only women, but this aspect is key for women, which is after you've had a baby, you can have something called, it's called a diastasis recti. So recti is just your rectus abdominis muscle, so your abdominal muscles. We get big being pregnant, and then post-baby, the abdominal muscles, everything kind of opens, the pelvis opens and the abdominal muscles open, and, it's this amazing thing the body does. Unfortunately, because we're not as robustly healthy as we used to be, sometimes that meeting back together of those abdominal muscles on the deeper levels as well as the superficial levels, they don't mend quite as well as they should. And we forget that the sort of the pressure within our abdominal cavity kind of keeps everything where it should be. The stomach's on the left, just under the rib cage, and then you've got these yards and yards and yards of intestines. And if you, after having a baby, if this opening has occurred, now sometimes you can actually see it. Women can actually feel a divot in the center of their abdomen. Sometimes you can't. I had one. Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes you can't feel it, but deeper, it doesn't heal as well. And over time, it can result in not everything being held the way it should be. And you might notice it in, you can't get the tone back in your abdomen, in your core, even though you're striving for that. But what can occur is that the integrity of where everything should be gets a little compromised. The stomach pushes up. You can have this pressure bloat under the rib cage. I'm touching the left side, the stomach's on that side, but sometimes women feel it both. And it's compromising digestion all the way down. But one of the symptoms is bloat. Also, acid reflux is another symptom when the stomach's in spasm, and or heartburn. So any of those. And we're seeing that really more and more. And it's being missed. And this sort of thing where the stomach's in spasm is across both sexes and all age groups, but particularly women who have had children, we see it a lot. So I just wanted to mention that as well.
I love that. That's great information. So when we talk about, I know that I've had clients that will tell me they're getting acid reflux all the time, and they get heartburn all the time. Let's talk a little bit about what maybe causes that, and then what really we should be doing, because a lot of people I know are taking antacids or prescription medications, and it's actually having the opposite effect.
It's so sad. And I mean, intuitively, you say, okay, there's acid coming up my throat. I can feel it. I'm miserable. The pain, it's called heartburn just because the esophagus is right here and the heart's on the same level. And, you can feel this sort of burning around the heart, and that's how it was given the name. So sometimes it's just a burning feeling, and sometimes it's the actual reflux where, the acid is coming up into your throat. Over time, that is dangerous because it can cause the esophagus, the tube between the mouth and the stomach, is not designed to tolerate that acid. So as that happens longer and longer, some changes in that tissue can occur, and that's not good. But just continuing to take an antacid is dangerous. It can create osteoporosis or brittle bones long term. It's compromising your digestion all the way down. And that's the problem, because your stomach, again, is supposed to be a bag of acid. All that acid is supposed to break up the food to a certain size so that when the contents leave the stomach, the small intestinal enzymes can efficiently work on the food. So it's sort of a lock and key theory. You've got to go from this size to this size. But if you go from this size just to that size, then you're not digesting and absorbing throughout. And since the only way we're fueling our cells is by proper digestion, you're starting to starve yourself almost. So we give these antacids, which lessen symptoms, but it's not root cause, because as you mentioned about yourself, but we see this all the time, is you find out that the patient doesn't really have too much acid at all. They're just inflamed and irritated. So the acid feels like it's too much, but it's not at all. And then compromising that acid level even further is just turning digestion on its head and compromising digestion. So then weight loss becomes very difficult. Energy levels, all sorts of things can stem off of that.
So what causes that burning feeling inside the stomach? Because I know I've had a couple of clients lately that, will say, well, it's your food, or it's this or that. And I'm like, okay, does this happen when you eat at McDonald's or when you eat, here? Well, it does. But because they like that food, then, they'll accept that burning pain.
Right.
But they won't actually switch over to a great whole foods diet because that's causing them the pain. So
Right.
it's like, okay, wait, let's talk about your French fries and Diet Coke habit,
Yeah. So it shouldn't, no food should burn. Now, if you're doing something really spicy, okay, but that's more like a throat burn than it is, a stomach burn. So you shouldn't feel it. Food should come into the stomach, and even though it's an acidic environment, it's supposed to be an acidic environment. So you shouldn't feel it. So you're feeling it because of inflammation. An example I like to use is, imagine you had a small paper cut and you couldn't feel it. You couldn't tell you had it. And then you went to squeeze a lemon. Oh, you see, now you know you have that paper cut. But the lemon didn't cause the paper cut. It just found the paper cut. You see the difference? So we're having this inflammation inside the stomach because of what you've been eating, because of lack of good balance of good bacteria, bad bacteria, poor diet, foods you're sensitive to, etc. And so you have an inflamed lining, or maybe H. pylori as an example, an infection. And because of the inflammation, everything's burning. But it's not that you don't have enough acid. More often than not, it is not excess acid.
Yeah.
And that's just our go-to. That's a very simple over-the-counter. It's a Tums, it's a proton pump inhibitor. And, all of a sudden I've had patients say, my doctor all of a sudden looked at my chart and said, oh, you've been on this drug too long. They were the ones that put them on it, And It's like, oh, it's been 15 years. You're really not supposed to go beyond 12, and it's terrible. And now you have brittle bones, and not to mention, again, all the trickle-down effects of what compromised digestion can create. So it's not the right solution at all. You have to get to the root of it.
So what is a natural or more natural solution than taking these antacids and taking drugs that your doctor is going to give you? What are your suggestions? What's your protocol for working with someone that comes in to see you?
Yeah, it really tends to be one of three things. We've mentioned the infection. So you really, you want to rule out whether there's an infection. You've ruled that out, then it's on to food. So foods you're eating that you're having a poor reaction to can very much create that symptom. And so we do food sensitivity testing, we do modified elimination diet, and usually it's pretty easy to fix. I mean, I consider that the easy category. Acid reflux, heartburn, pretty darn easy to handle. There's also the mechanical problem that I was referring to a little bit with the women post-baby, but once again, it doesn't have to be just women who have had babies. And that is where the stomach has, because of what you're eating and irritation, has gone into spasm and it's pushing up on that diaphragm. And because it's in spasm, it's literally squirting its juices up the esophagus the way you would when you vomit. Sorry to bring up something that's not fun, but we all know that feeling, and it's like, oh, that's not supposed to go that way, right? But yeah. The stomach can be in spasm, whether it's empty or full, and it's squirting those acidic juices up. And so in other words, it's a problem where the stomach is inflamed and in spasm, and that can happen mechanically, as I mentioned, post-baby. But again, the root of it is often digestive in nature. Another root going a little bit lower down is constipation. Because if you're really constipated and things are staying in that colon too long, especially if you have to bear down, that feeling of bearing down, that increases what's called the intra, meaning within the abdominal cavity, the pressure. If you just even do that for no reason, you can feel that pressure build, and that can force that stomach up as well. So you have mechanical as well as dietary, and then potentially infectious reasons. Those are the major three.
How do you diagnose H. pylori?
There's blood and there's stool.
Okay. All right. And how common is it? What causes it? Because I've been reading a lot about it lately.
Yeah, no, it's pretty common. That the bacteria Helicobacter pylori, they just say H because it's a lot shorter, is very pervasive. And if you have a healthy immune system, your immune system would just destroy it. We don't like to think about it, but in our food, there's a lot of microscopic organisms and parasites and things that, are not our friends, but that's why Mother Nature puts 70 to 80% of the immune system in the gut. Because as these things come in, it's like, nope, and it just destroys it. And that's why it's sitting there. That's why you have all those immune cells sitting there, and it's like destroy. So H. pylori, it's around, it's pretty common, but a healthy immune system would just destroy it on the spot.
Mm-hmm. Okay, interesting. So let's touch just a moment. I know constipation's not our subject tonight, but you know what? It's so amazing how all these things go together. It's just like from top to bottom, touch a moment on what should your bowel movements look like? Like what's the healthy one, and give us a couple of things that we can be doing to make sure we're heading in that right direction.
Yeah, no, we talk poop here a lot, and I tell patients, it's like, I'm going to get graphic, so get ready. Some patients are like, oh, and they're very specific, and other people look at me horrified, like, I don't look, it's like, it's okay. So anyway, hang on one second, my computer's being weird. Okay, so yes, I talk about the brown banana as sort of the the length and the color, kind of a medium brown, and the bowel should pass easily. There shouldn't be a lot of bearing down, and it should be one piece. It shouldn't be little rocks. It should hold together like the banana. If you were to throw the banana in the toilet, that would be what it looked like. And it shouldn't, sometimes it comes out in a piece and then sort of falls apart in the water. It shouldn't do that either. It shouldn't be like mud. It shouldn't be goldish in color. It shouldn't be black in color. If you have had a lot of fiber, it can float, but sometimes it floats because there's a lot of fat. If there tends to be a lot of fat, meaning you're malabsorbing fat, then what will happen is it'll be that lighter, more of a lighter brown in color, like a goldy brown. So that's a fat malabsorption problem. but generally also easy evacuation, meaning, you have the feeling like, you have to go to the bathroom, and you move the bowels, and that's it. And it's done. It shouldn't be, I really get into this graphically, but, it shouldn't be that it's sticky on the toilet paper. It should be, you wipe 1 or 2 times and you're done. It shouldn't be wipe, because it's sort of stuck to your skin.
Right. Yeah.
So that's too much fat as well. So you're not absorbing fat. And women who want to lose weight, they go, good, I'll poop out the fat. It's like, no. You need fat to make hormones, and you don't want fatty poop.
What causes us to have malabsorption of the fat?
Fat malabsorption, pancreatic enzyme issues, gallbladder issues, liver issues. So looking at that color of the stool and whether it's floating or not is something that's really good to know. And then frequency, twice a day. Sorry.
Okay, give us your top 3 tips on what people can do at home to start making them go to the bathroom regularly.
Well, leaving out the food sensitivities and the infections, as we mentioned, then hydration is very, very key. Americans are known for being dehydrated. So those 8 glasses of water every single day, spread out, not just, downing 4 glasses at once, because as soon as the research I've seen, as soon as you've gone over the 8 ounces in a 20-minute setting, and it's just going to go right through you versus really circulating and cleansing, which is what you want the water to do. So you're not chugging, 64 ounces of water. You're spreading it out. Just before meals, fine. Not during a meal, because there really is truth to diluting those digestive enzymes. So you can drink before, you can drink after, not during. And then fiber. So those 9 servings of fruits and vegetables, beans and legumes, things that are really loaded with fiber will not only plump up the stool, but feed those incredibly healthy bacteria in your gut that are everything to do with health. Fascinating story. Do you have a few minutes? Should I tell you a quick story?
We still have about 10 minutes, and I only have
good.
one question.
So this has to do with cancer, but they looked at people with cancer who were doing immunotherapy. So immunotherapy is brilliant. It's very expensive, but it's very, very effective. Well, I should hold on there. It's 20% effective in the average bear.
What's immunotherapy?
So what immunotherapy is instead of chemotherapy or subsequent to chemotherapy, what it's doing is cancer kind of cloaks itself. You can think of Harry Potter and the invisibility cloak, right? Once cancer gets a foothold, it can cloak itself in a fashion where your immune system just can't find it, which is not what we want. So what immunotherapy does is it has this ability to literally uncloak. Okay, it can identify the cloak and take it off, and then the immune system goes, oh, well, there it is. Let's go get it, right?
Wow.
Except when it's effective, it's miraculous, except the efficacy is about 20%. So they did this brilliant study and looked at people for whom it worked and people for whom it didn't. And they found 1 bacteria in the gut that was the difference. I mean, considering there's 32 trillion, this was amazing. But they found this one, and it was not one, it's called Akkermansia, long name, AKK. But anyway, it's not something you can take in a probiotic. So you can't take it in a pill and then it propagates in your gut. What you need to do is eat it. And the foods they found that were highest were pomegranates, and you can just drink pomegranate juice, cranberries, and a few others. But those were the 2 that were highest. So they took then individuals that didn't have this Akkermansia, and they had them drink just 8 ounces of pomegranate juice every day for just 2 weeks, and then remeasured the level, and this good bacteria was back, and then they could do
the immunotherapy,
effectively uncloak the cancer with the immunotherapy. So that harkened back to, it's not just about having fiber for poop, although it makes it more pleasant, but it's really feeding these good bacteria in the gut that have so much to do with whether you're moving toward disease or away from disease. So
I love. I'm always so interested in health and read about it constantly. That's an amazing study, and they're doing so many more things with cancer that, you know, I'm always, you know, so grateful, first of all, that I have not gone down that path and hopefully never do. But you know, just for more and more information, and, you know, information on longevity and all of that. And those are certainly things I know that you're really interested in and study yourself, which is exciting. So my last question, if you guys have questions out there, make sure you put them in the comments section. If you're watching in the replay, all you have to do is, you know, just type in your question and Dr. Vikki will circle back. If you would like more info on Dr. Vikki, if you would like to receive our weekly newsletter, which has all of our different shows and, sorry, and different, you know, topics each week, go ahead and just type in the word info in the comment section and you will get a Facebook message. So last but not least, why is it that in today's society, digestive problems are so prevalent?
They are so prevalent. And it has to do with a few different things. Definitely one, unfortunately, is the quality of our food. And our food is it's not real food anymore. An interesting study just came out where they took 20 individuals, 10 women and 10 men, and these were young, you know, and they're about average age 31, healthy men and women, and they took them out of their normal habitat and fed them for an entire month. And there were 2 weeks of an ultra-processed diet and 2 weeks of real food. And what they did was the calories and the protein and the fat, the content of the meals for breakfast, lunch, and dinner were the same. Although, interestingly enough, we just talked about fiber. The ultra-processed diet, it was impossible to get enough fiber from ultra-processed food. So they literally had to take a fiber powder and put it in a drink for them, that group, because it was the only way to try to keep these macronutrients on an even keel. But what they found was that not only did the blood values change, there was more inflammation. You're singing over there.
Sorry.
That's okay. Yeah, there was a lot of inflammation in the blood after the 2 weeks of the ultra-processed group, but also so those in the ultra-processed group ate 500 calories more a day because that food is, you know, tends to spur cravings. And because why would you eat more? Because you're not being satisfied, you see? So that food, the body says, that wasn't enough. 500 calories more a day, which translated into 2 pounds in 2 weeks. But of course, 52 weeks in the year, you know, it would have been 50-pound weight gain in a year, right? Yeah. If they kept that up. And then when they went to the natural, the real food diet, they lost the 2 pounds and their blood values changed, et cetera, et cetera. And again, these were healthy people. They weren't junk food type of people. But just in the course of 2 weeks on an ultra-processed diet, 500 calories more a day, gaining weight, you know, a pound a week, which is a lot. You know, 2 pounds in 2 weeks is a lot. So we're having these digestive problems because we're not eating real food. And they said it in the study. They said, you know, it's the ultra-processed, long shelf life, and it's cheaper and all of that. But, you know, it doesn't, it is, but is what is your health worth, you know? So I always used to joke with my kids when they were, you know, in college, it's like beans and rice is not expensive, you know, you can get a can of beans pretty darn cheap, you know? And so somebody was telling me about an outlet, like it's like a grocery store. And I don't know whether outlet's in the word, but she said, you know, it's not a beautiful store, but what they have is when grocery stores, when things are getting kind of near the end of their shelf life. But she said near the end was almond butter, organic almond butter that still had over a year before it expired, right? And she said 60% less. And I was like fascinated. I had no idea. A patient was just telling me about that earlier this week. And I was like, I didn't know. I've seen the sign like driving by, but I've never known what it was, So these things exist, and certainly growing your own produce. And we live at there's farmers markets and things you can do, and you can get to know. I have a farmers market that I love. You have a great one in Los Gatos, and there's a great one in Campbell. But finding that farmers market and establishing a relationship with the farmer, and and a lot of times by the end of the farmers market, they don't want to bring the produce back home, and you can get a nice discount. And you have to work at it. You really do. In this country, we have to work at it. But our digestive problems are coming about a lot from the fact that we're not eating real food. We're not eating enough real food. And then there are the chemicals in the environment too. But if what's on the end of the fork is super healthy, then you can counter a lot of the environmental toxins coming our way.
I totally agree with you. I'm all about, I do use a meal program called Ideal Protein to help my clients lose weight. But, I'm always like, this is the prescription to get the weight off. But the end result is during this process, we're learning how to cook, healthy proteins and lots of fiber and good things. And I think the biggest thing that I encounter today with my clients is that they don't cook and they don't want to cook. And really, I have, transformed a lot of people into being able to cook, because I'm not a big cook, but I know enough to cook my own food. And I do eat 80 to 90% of my own food. And I mean, it's really an important thing. And I know you guys on your Facebook, you put all these great recipes. And if you guys want to follow Dr. Vikki on Facebook, just type in the word info, and you're going to get a link to where you can go over there and find Dr. Vikki's Facebook. It's Root Cause Medical. She's in Saratoga. And just before we go, Dr. Vikki, tell people, kind of why you started Root Cause and really what your mission is there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as so many doctors, I had my own health challenges early in life, and I didn't like what I was being told, which I was being told it was genetic because my mother was that way. I was going to be that way, and that was the end of that. But since then, it's really appreciating the fact that the human body is a very robust machine. It loves to heal. It's very, very good at it, and we're not appreciating that ability enough. We're sort of more taking medications and managing symptoms and suppressing symptoms instead of standing back and looking at that body as a whole. And in functional medicine, we have these great tools to really get to those deeper levels. And I'm not saying we never use medication, but we do so more temporarily while we're getting to the root cause. And then we're able to wean people off medication because they truly don't need it anymore. And that's what we're going for, healthy to 100, and with a machine that really works so you can enjoy life. And the body isn't giving you hardship and
I love that.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're watching and you're wondering, why I talk with Dr. Vikki, why I've selected her is, first of all, she came at the spur of the moment to our coaches retreat and was super. I mean, all the information you gave was amazing. You're a fantastic speaker. I love the way that you're able to break things down and people can really understand, what's going on. That's like 90%. And also, I just think that we need to work with functional medicine practitioners, and I've been over to Dr. Vikki's, and I've sent several clients over there that I just knew really needed, they needed to lose weight, but more than needing to lose weight, they really needed to get well. And that, my main goal is that I see my clients learn not only how to change their lifestyles, but if they're sick inside and they don't even know they're sick inside, that they have the opportunity to find out why and to to get well. And so that's why I send people over to see you, Dr. Vikki. And it's a blessing when someone says to me, oh, I went to Dr. Vikki's and I did the food sensitivities test, and I found these other things and it was awesome. And they have such a great place over there, and you have a beautiful facility. So all righty, you guys.
Team, so awesome. It's internal medicine and chiropractic and physical therapy and nutrition, dietitian. So it's not just me, it's a whole team.
A team. Yeah, it's a team and a building, and there's lots going on there. So you can take one piece of it or you can take it all. So it's pretty cool. I really do like it, and I always appreciate when you come on and you share your information. And I'll be probably in and out during the summer, but I will definitely loop back to you in late August, and we'll talk again.
Good.
Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thank you to everybody out there. Bye-bye.